know I'm in a different setup depending on whether I've posted my other video that I've made. Here are my bookshelves, really exciting. They're so rainbow, it's great. So I've just come back from Croatia with my partner Ben. It was glorious. We spent half the time like chilling and relaxing and reading, which is just great, and then the other half kind of exploring, and it was really nice, and I got a lot read. What? Oh my god, what are words? I read a lot. It was really exciting, so I thought I'd run through a holiday reading wrap up. What I read on holiday. I managed to read 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I managed to read 5 books in total, and we went for 10 days, so that's pretty good. Honestly, it was just exciting to be able to not think about anything else. Just do what we want to do. Like, if we were like, oh, I actually just want to chill today, it's like, cool, we can just do that. Man, responsibilities are back. But let's just go back into the holiday mode and I can zoom you through all the books that I read. The first book I finished was Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli. I read Simon vs. the Homo Sapien Agenda last year, and I really liked it. It was really cute, really easy to read, liked her writing. So this is actually Ben's copy. He bought it, but I borrowed it. I was excited to read this because I knew that Leah was bisexual, which I'm always here for. I read like a bit of it before we left, and then I finished it on the plane actually. So it's kind of a holiday read. I was in the holiday mood, so I think it counts. Honestly, I don't know how I felt about this one. Like, yeah, it was bisexual representation. I don't think that made it good though. Just because something has representation in it definitely doesn't mean it's good. I don't want to spoil anything. Like, obviously, if you want to read it, there was a situation where one of the characters wasn't sure about their sexuality. They weren't sure if they're bisexual, which is, you know, hella relatable. Don't mean to like go into everything, but that's literally my current life. Like, never have I related more. I read about how this character was feeling and I was like, oh my god, yes. And then it was immediately shut down. Leah was like, no, you can't be bisexual-ish. You either are bisexual or you're not. Which, like, no. I'm still angry about this. Obviously that's just the character, but it's a bit questionable because it's not like that was like a plot point and then that came back to it and where she learnt and was like, oh, you know, like, not everything is black and white, not everything has to be labels, not everyone knows. Like, you don't just know innately, and like, she did, and that's great, but not everyone does. And it never came back, like it wasn't mentioned again. It was in this argument and it wasn't mentioned again, and she had no like learning moment on this. It's, I don't know, is that from the author, or is that just been put in as like a characteristic of Leah? Because she's a very standoffish person, she's very opinionated, and so I don't know, that kind of threw me off a bit. And then the rest of the book I was just like frustrated that kind of opinion was just put in there and it wasn't mentioned again. I worry that young people will read it and be like, oh my god, I'm either that or I'm not. It's black and white. I have to decide. I have to pick a label, and it's like, my god, no. Do what you want. That was a very long rant, but that was how I felt. I think I gave this 3 stars on Goodreads. It was very easy to read. Like, Becky Albertalli's writing is really easy to read. I don't know, I spoke to Ben about it and he thought the exact same thing, so I don't know. I wouldn't not recommend it, but I would like to see a book that's a bit more accepting, I guess. Yeah. Okay, so then the next book I read was The Book of Wonders. Here it is on the spine. The front says, it's never too late to live every day like it's your last, which is very cheesy but also quite cute. This is published by Quercus. This came out in May. It's an uncorrected proof copy, which is why it doesn't have the cover on the front. The book is about a boy that falls into a coma. His mum finds his Book of Wonders, and it's like a list of all of his goals, like, that he wants to do in life, and so she decides to fulfill them for him. So Quercus sent a black moleskin to lots of different bloggers and booktubers and things, which one of them was me, and we got to fill in like a page of our goals. I'll put a picture up right here. That's such a lovely campaign. I really love it when, I mean, this is just like my work side, but when like marketing and things are so creative, I'm like, ooh, I get all excited. So this is also a translation from French, which is exciting because I want to read more translations as well. This was so easy to read. I read this in, I think, about 2 sittings. Very lovely. I liked the aspects of all the different travels and all the ways that the things interconnected. I liked how Thelma is the mum. I really liked how she kind of developed as a character, and no matter how hard you try, it always seems to take like a life-changing moment to make you realise that you're kind of pushing everything aside and you're not paying attention to things. So I think I gave this 4 stars. Like, what didn't completely blow me away, but like it was a solid like, oh man, that was great, that was lovely. So that was the Book of Wonders. So then we moved on to this bad boy, which was the only hardback I took on holiday, because you can't be taking hardbacks on holiday. They're heavy. This is Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glenn Marsh. This is a fantasy book, which, if you know me, you know that I gravitate 95% of my time towards contemporary books. And I'm not a huge fantasy fan. Put aside Harry Potter and, you know, etc. Lots of fantasy that are coming out today I haven't really seen. An exception is Children of Blood and Bone, which I read with my friend Sophie from the Little Contemporary Corner, which you should check out. Because we both don't read fantasy a lot, so we did a co-read of that, which was really great. So anyway, yeah, oh my god, I'm just sidetracked for shit. So I don't read fantasy a lot, but I won this in a book box giveaway definitely over a year ago. Hadn't seen many people talk about it. I've seen a few, but then, I don't know, it just kind of sat there. I have no excuse. I saw that it was a female-female romance. That definitely pushed me more towards wanting to read it, because, I mean, queer representation usually does. So it took me a while to get into it. Like, I think I was like 60 pages in, and I was kind of like, oh, like, do I want to be reading this when I want like a quick read? I want to like not be really bogged down and thinking about it. And I couldn't really get into it, and the world was confusing me. Sorry, I'll tell you what it's about. The world has necromancers where they raise people from the dead. Odessa, is it Odessa? It's Odessa. Odessa is a necromancer, and they raise people from the dead, but then they have to cover the dead with these, what's this? What is this? A cover, because if they're seen, then they turn into shades, which are like these thirsty blood monster vampire type creatures. And then, lo and behold, there's a rise in shades, which is what they're called, the monsters. And there's like some suspicious ongoings. It says, someone is intentionally creating shades by tearing shrouds, that's what it's called, shroud, by tearing shrouds from the dead and training them to attack. It sounded interesting, but I was finding it really hard to get into. I felt like we were really thrown into the world, and I feel like I needed like a little bit more world, especially, I don't know if this is just because I don't read fantasy and people that do read fantasy are like, no, that just makes sense. For me and my contemporary novice heart, I needed like a little bit more world building. I'd forced myself to carry on. I ended up really liking it. I almost wish I hadn't known that it was like FF romance, because I kind of spent the whole book kind of waiting for it to happen, and it did not happen until like into the second half. And it was also very surprising. The main character had like quite a sweet relationship with this woman who I won't name if you want to read it, but like I assumed that was where it was going. I felt like they had chemistry, and then it was just kind of like dropped, and this really random character came in, and it was just, that was her. That was they were together. And it was just really weird. I don't know if it's because I was like looking for it, but I was like, that's okay, like fine, but a bit weird, because like, okay, spoilers, if you want to read this book, just skip forward to this time here, because I need to vent. At the beginning of the book, Odessa is with a guy, oh my god, what's his name? What is his name? Evander. Oh, okay. So at the beginning of the book, Odessa, who is our main character, our leading lady, she's in a relationship with a guy called Evander, and they seem very happy together. It's not like she's in a relationship with him just because she has to be and she like isn't happy. Like the way that it's described, like they're really happy. They're really happy, and he dies, like, not too far in, but not super at the beginning. It's kind of very, like, skipped over. Like, she talks about it a lot, but I thought it would then really talk about grief a lot, and it kind of doesn't. Like, it kind of talks about addiction, and she kind of gets addicted to these potions. So what I was saying about, she has a relationship with the princess, and they talk a lot, and she encourages her to, like, you know, fulfill her dreams and do her art and her inventions and stuff. And the princess in turn, like, knows when Odessa, like, needs to get her shit together, and they like she spots when she's really harming herself with her potion addiction. I'm like, they are clearly going to be the female, that's the romance, like, and I was super psyched for it. And then, like, I don't know, it just kind of goes away, and then, like, 3/4 of the way through the book, like, Evander's sister, his literal sister, like, she was in it, but, like, not really, like, not notable. Like, I didn't remember her name. I had to go back and remember who it was. Kind of, like, appears and gets involved, and then they just kiss and get together. That's your dead boyfriend's sister. And there was no chemistry. I was very confused. I don't know, did I miss something? Like, everyone, I was informed this was good. I don't know. It is good, and I did enjoy it, and I got to the end and I was like, shh, I need to read, I'm still reading. But, like, I that just confused me. It felt very, very forced. I would have much preferred it if Odessa got with the princess. That's neither here nor there, because it didn't happen. Anyway, I did enjoy my holiday reading, not that it sounds like it. So that was that. I think I gave this 3 stars, maybe 4. Maybe it was like I rounded up or rounded down. I'd probably say I'd give this 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it, and the storyline I ended up enjoying, but confusion. Did like the bisexual rep though. I think that was done well, but just the romance aspect was not, in my opinion. But feel free to disagree with me. Did you like this book? Have you read it? Please come and chat. I would love to hear what you thought about the romance. Like, I really would. If you disagree, please tell me, and I'd love to have a discussion about it. We're going to put this one to the side now though. It's going away. Okay, so we've got 2 more to go. The next one I read on my Kindle, but I have a little free sample chapter pamphlet thing that my friend Sophie, again from the Little Contemporary Corner, got from me from Galk last year. So it's Summer Bird Blue by Akemi Dawn Bowman. I'd been meaning to read this for a really long time. It had just kind of been sat on my Kindle, and I forget to look at what's on my Kindle, but oh my god. This book, I think probably especially after the last one where I'd been like, I was ready for like something I knew, contemporary, and something I knew that I would like, and this was everything. This book was incredible. So at the beginning of the book, we're introduced to Rumi and Leah. Rumi and Leah are sisters, and you can tell immediately the kind of bond they have. They're really close. They share everything. They share their love of music together. And it's really, even from like the first few pages, it's kind of like you get a feel of how close these sisters are. And then Leah dies in a car accident. That's not a spoiler because it really, like, the whole book is based on this event. It just blew me away. The way that Akemi dealt with grief was, I think, maybe the best I've ever read. It was incredible. It was so real. It was so realistic. The way that the waves of like how she was dealing with this absolute loss that you could like never fathom. It was incredible. So the plot kind of goes, her mum can't really cope, and she sends her to her aunt's house in Hawaii. And so the novel takes place with Rumi in Hawaii, feeling abandoned and confused and like lost and heartbroken and just empty. And the way that it like over the course of the novel, it just, I can't like even really explain how much I loved this book. Even like the kind of like simplistic thing of like the contrast of like the Hawaii like being like a, you know, beach location, and like the sun and like surfing and the waves and the sea, and like the way that she felt so empty in this like beautiful scenery is just so, oh my god. I also loved the way throughout the book she kind of come to terms with the fact that she is Arrow Ace, and so she doesn't feel like an attraction for wanting to be with anyone, or like romantically, or she doesn't want to kiss anyone. And as we go through the chapters, we get lots of flashbacks with conversations between Rumi and Leah about how Rumi just doesn't want to kiss boys or girls or anything, and like the way that her and Leah differ in that aspect. And it was so interesting and so well done. I feel like sometimes people really force and like crowbar in representation to be like, look, there's some representation, which is obviously bullshit, because representation is not just a label, it's like a part of you, and this is entirely the way to like do it. It was incredible. Oh man, can I gush more? Probably, but I will stop. I'm so excited to read her next book. I haven't read, what's the other one? Starfish. And she's just got a new book out, which I can't remember the name of. No, she's got a new book coming out, sorry. I am psyched to read her next book. Like, I need to pick it up immediately because this was incredible. Okay, well, on to the final book. More Happy Than Not by Adam Silvera. I've read all of Adam's other books and I've loved every single one. So I was excited to read this. This is actually, again, Ben's copy. Which I borrowed. This is his first book, and for some reason I was going into this thinking it was going to be really fluffy and like a really light read. I was wrong. It's about a guy called Aaron who has a girlfriend, and things are going fine until a boy called Thomas shows up, which is, I think that's kind of what it says on the blurb, which is I think why I was like, oh, it's going to be a fun kind of like coming of age type story. It's not. Adam Silvera likes to do this, which I enjoy a lot. It's set in the modern day world, but there's one kind of like sci-fi element, and it's the Letio Institute. And basically you go to this institute and you can have select parts of your memories erased for like traumatic events or like things that have really scarred you, and you think you'll be able to move on better if you don't have those memories in your head, which is a very interesting concept, because obviously on the surface you're like, oh, but that's really helpful, but then it quickly like, because so much can go wrong with that, erasing memories that you like actually probably shouldn't be erased, it's helping you to pick up, etc, etc, etc. It's a very interesting concept and it was done very well. There was many twists and turns and I didn't guess any of them. It was really exciting. I think with YA contemporaries it's sometimes easy to be like, I see that arc has happened, so that's going to happen at the end. And actually that is like the case for a lot of things, but it is 100% not with this book. Someone just looked at me directly in the eye. That was really embarrassing. It really like talked about sexuality and like assuming sexuality and kind of like imagining others complexly. I know I sound like John Green, but like it did do that. And class and being working class and having friends that are really problematic around you, and how that affects you, and like all these things. I can see how this was his first novel. I can see how this is the kind of thing he needed to get out to like into the world. So yeah, no, if you've read They Both Die at the End and History Is All You Left Me, which is his other books, and you haven't read this one, which is apparently the order that I did it in, everyone else has probably already read it anyway, but like I would definitely recommend it. And that's that. That was my holiday reading. It was definitely a mixed bag. Definitely some were better than others. But overall, a pretty good haul. What have you been reading lately? Have you read any of the ones that I've discussed today? Please tell me what you thought. Especially tell me what you thought of the romance in Reign of the Fallen. Please. Also what you thought of Leah on the Offbeat. But aka the two ones that I was like, this was questionable. I'd love to know if you have read it and what your thoughts are. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again. I'm really enjoying doing these videos, so expect some more. Yay! Oh man. Bye. Okay, that's probably... Oh no! My book! This just fell out of my More Happy Than Not. I was using it as a bookmark, which is ridiculous because look how many bookmarks I have here. And I'm using top trumps as bookmarks. Fucking hell, Jazz.